Hey everyone, welcome to the Rollout. I'm Lindsay Rousseau.
And I'm Genevieve Marie. Hello and welcome.
If you missed last week's episode, we broke down a Japanese anime, Cowboy Bebop, the live action, which was very prophetic because the show was announced that it was canceled the day before our show aired. Well, today we're going to break down another, it's not anime, but honestly, the art style of this show was very anime-esque.
Heavily inspired, I would
Very,
say.
very inspired by. But yeah, we're gonna dive into a show not a lot of people are talking about, and I'm honestly quite surprised about that. But it's Marvel's Hit Monkey, which you can stream on Hulu, based on the comic book series of the same name, which came out in 2010. Yeah, I have heard like very little talked about this, and honestly,
No chatter.
I was very impressed with this show. I know you threw it at me like, you're like, hey, check out this thing I'm watching on Hulu. And I was like, Hit Monkey, of all the Marvel properties to turn into, I mean, it's a good comic run, but like, I was very surprised that is what they turned into a show. And I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, to clear a few things up, I kept calling it on the show Monkey Assassin.
Monkey Assassin. Which is, I mean, it's accurate. He's the assassin of the assassins. So Monkey Assassin. I feel like in the other name of the show.
So if you're wondering if that is the thing that I was talking about, this is the thing.
So if she calls it Monkey Assassin,
I called it Monkey Assassin in in a couple episodes prior to this. I'm like, we should talk about it. What I really meant to say is that we should talk about Hit Monkey. Yes. This one definitely just came out of left field for me. It just showed up in my you may like section of Hulu,
right?
And because I watch a lot of Archer, Bob's Burgers, I watch a lot of animated
stuff. This pop up.
I watch a lot of animated stuff, so usually new animated shows pop up in my queue, and Hit Monkey was one of them. And I saw the Marvel label that I just kind of cocked my head and I was like,
Hit Monkey?
Because Marvel doesn't, other than Murdoch, Marvel doesn't really drop things on Hulu.
No.
And this one was definitely one of those that you don't let the kids watch.
No, so this was absolutely adult animation. This is a rated R show, lots of blood and gore, though I will say they don't show as much as they could. Most of the actual deaths we don't really see. It's more like the aftermath with the blood splatter, but it is absolutely an adult show.
I would say that it kind of rides the line of, it reminds me a lot of Archer.
Yeah.
And that kind of graphic gore. And then of course you have the language and all of that. But I think this show is definitely, the style was heavily inspired by Archer, but then also, by anime, you could see it in a lot of, the animation style. But this was a strange one to just be kind of brought out by Disney.
And I'm just wondering if there was some producer that was like, man, this is my favorite comic. We need to make this into a show. I feel like that's how this had to have gotten made, because of all the Marvel property, because when they had the conversations about Guardians of the Galaxy, they were like, I don't know if the public's going to get on board with a talking raccoon. And now we're dealing with a non-talking monkey.
Right. So the premise of Hit Monkey is that there is an assassin who basically offs the wrong dude, gets betrayed, and he gets injured. He's working in Japan and he's injured. Yeah. And he, while trying to escape, comes upon this oasis with a bunch of monkeys in it.
Macaws, to be specific, if you're wondering, Japanese macaws.
And
this is important because it comes up later in the show.
Important because there is one particular monkey, the Hit Monkey, that doesn't really like him, that doesn't trust him, and he's right not to, because he accidentally brings the people that are after him to the oasis, and they literally
kill,
unlife all the monkeys.
Yeah, except for the one, because he had previously been banished.
Right. And they also get the assassin as well. So it's just the monkey who's out for revenge, and the assassin comes back in the form of a ghost.
Right. Which I have to say, I feel like this character was written for Jason Sudeikis, the character of Bryce Fowler. He was like one of the greatest assassins. Just listening. So for those who haven't seen it, basically Ghost, Bryce, and Monkey Assassin are tethered together for whatever supernatural reasons. But the writing and just Jason's performance, I was like, I feel like this character was written just for you, because it's that quippy, sarcasm, just, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of quick humor, a lot of dry humor too. Just it's really, and that's why it reminds me a lot of Archer. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of crossover in the writer's room, or even on the production side of things, because it is that really like snappy dialogue. And
you will be right, Genevieve, because the production company behind it, besides Marvel, was Floyd County Productions, who is best known for producing Archer.
There you go.
So there you go. Instincts were validated.
That's why. I really enjoyed it, but like I love these things that are just kind of like offshoot crazy little shows. And this one is definitely in the vein of just one of those what the fuck, why was this made show, but they committed to it.
They did. And they got some big names in it. I mean, George Takei is in it. I mean, it's almost an entirely all Japanese cast, except for Jason. But the performances were really, and the writing was great, because, we've got this character, this protagonist, the hit monkey, who is not speaking English. So the way they wrote it, they had to write it because Jason, Bryce Fowler, his character, the ghost, is able to understand him. So they had to write all the conversations with him essentially having one-sided conversations while you understand it. And I have to say, Fred Tatasciore, we already knew he was one of the greatest voice actors of all time. He did the voice of the hit monkey, and I swear to God, he brought me to tears sometimes, because some of those, he just brought so much heart and emotion to it. And again, you're like, a show where the character doesn't even speak a language. I don't know.
Right.
But
well, it's kind of like that, like the whole Wall-E thing, where
really
like the noises and
there
stuff.
was so much heart and emotion in this monkey. Like, there's a few times he's like, oh, and I'm like, I'm gonna cry.
I know. And the animation really does lend itself well to just expressing all that emotion and being able to get that across very clear to the audience. I think that's something that animation can do very, very well, is really hone in on showing character emotion. Not like live action can't do that, but like I think that with animation you have a lot of specificity,
right?
An opportunity to really get it down right, and that really served it well too. Like, if this was a live action with a CGI monkey, I honestly would just not. I would not.
We'd probably have another Cowboy Bebop episode, is what we would have.
Probably.
Hit monkey misses the target. I can hear the title now in my head. Yeah,
it's just there's some stories that lend itself so well to animation, and you can and it's the exact same with anime as well. You can tell outlandish, crazy tales and have it blend a bit better and come across a bit clearer and not seem so ridiculous when it's put in a different medium.
Right.
And because there's a lot of things, I mean, with Guardians of the Galaxy, that's one thing. I mean, they have one talking raccoon, but like with a lot of animes and shows, you have multiple like fantasy or animal characters, and like it's just filled with very outlandish people with like superhuman powers.
Because like halfway into the show, we then get this ghost character, Yuki. We get, we end up getting Silver Samurai. So we're very the first half, you're like, oh, Jason, Bryce is the ghost character. But then we do start getting additional supernatural elements. And so you're like, okay, this is very much kind of the heightened reality, with these supernatural elements tied into it. Also, huge shout out to my friend Nashir Dalal, who I did not realize while watching voiced Fat Cobra and the Silver Samurai. And he is one of the greatest performers I know, and also a very, very genuine, amazing person. So big shout out to Nashir now that I know you were in the show. But yeah, so it's really interesting. And we do also are following the journey of the police detectives who are looking into this. You've kind of got that
Right.
Buddy cop thing going on with Haruka, who's the good cop from the small town who just wants to clean up Tokyo, and then you've got the more grizzled cop who has lived his career understanding the reality of corruption in the police force and in politics, because that's essentially what the show is analyzing, is like corrupt politicians, corrupt police force, and how do you go about trying to make change and justice when everything is tainted by corruption at this point.
Right. I was just trying to say before I muted myself, because I got an incoming call. That I didn't think about it earlier, but now that you mention it, we do get to see a second take on the Silver Samurai.
Yeah.
And it's a much needed new take. Like I didn't mind that particular Wolverine movie. It's just, it kind of falls apart in the third act for me.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the things this show did. So Hit Monkeys, obviously, and they're very much basing it on the plot of the comic itself, but they are throwing other characters in here that are not really associated with the comic series. Silver Samurai being a perfect example. Who again we remember from Wolverine, we remember from Daredevil, and then Lady Bullseye, who ends up being kind of the lead antagonist outside of all the evil Yakuza. Who again is also more well known from her appearances in the Daredevil comics. So it was really interesting. They're doing a lot of these crossover character things, kind of like we saw in Hawkeye with Echo being introduced into the Hawkeye universe, which again usually part of the Daredevil universe. Which I'm now like, well, now we know we're getting Matt Murdock back. I'm like, is this should have all been signs. We're getting all these Daredevil characters in, so maybe this is just a sign of times to come. Charlie Cox is coming soon to the MCU.
Well, and that's the thing, is that you're seeing, I think that the new phase of Marvel is just going to be is going to be categorized as the crossover phase.
Yeah.
Because they're just throwing everything at the wall at this point, and
they're just like, what's a cool character?
I think they are now looking at their core cast of characters, the ones that they have left, and they are trying to piece together different projects and see what works, what doesn't, like what characters are going to gel well together. I mean, it's just like comic books when you have your normal character runs that are like solely focused on Captain America or solely focused on Iron Man, and you get their story, and it usually revolves around a very set cast of characters, like the Batman universe.
Right.
Justice
League, you keep seeing the same thing. Yeah.
Right. I would safely say that like Batman has his own universe, and there is crossover when you get into the Justice League, but like he is absolutely fine on his own because he has such a huge cast of characters that he always interacts with. And we're past that phase. We're definitely now in the Justice League All-Stars, just that very, very like people are just going to be popping up out of fucking nowhere. And because they live in the same universe, it really doesn't matter now if you are sticking to your core cast of characters. Yeah. Because Marvel and whether it be good or bad, the MCU has grown past that.
Yeah.
And they can't continue to do the same
Yeah,
thing
and we
over
can
and over
only
again.
get so many.
Origin
I mean,
story.
obviously we're getting Thor Love and Thunder, but like we can only get so many Thor movies. We can only, I mean, obviously Cap has
Right.
already been phased out. So it's like, yeah. And you know, there's something to be said about pulling in some of these, you know, lesser known characters, or at least, you know, people who aren't really familiar with the Marvel comics, lesser known characters. And you know what? It paid off for them in Guardians of the Galaxy, which instantly became one of their biggest franchise hits. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot to be said for pulling. And this is also where we're finding a lot of our more diverse characters. It's like, okay, well, with Lady Bullseye, we're getting this badass Japanese assassin. You know, with Echo, we're getting a Native American deaf character. So it's like by pulling from, you know, their vast, you know, library of characters, they're able to move beyond kind of just like your traditional Avengers or your traditional Justice League, which was pretty white bread. I mean, not to say phases 1 through 3 didn't have some amazing things, but they have an opportunity now to expand beyond that.
Right. I mean, it's still nice to go back and visit those films,
Yeah.
but when you do, there is something a bit dated about them already. I mean, they're not that old, but
No,
there's still something about it that you're like, huh, so this is what it was like in the beginning, you know? And I promise you, people, if you continue to make those types of films with the exact same formula, people would not want to continue to go see Marvel movies. They have to evolve somehow,
right?
Whether or not, like, I don't know if they're making the right choices. I mean, some things I like, and then other things, like, for the most part, I have been liking their, you know, I've been liking their Disney Plus shows. But then you have random things, like you have something like the Eternals, which they tried to make an origin story, a sequel, and they tried to do a trilogy,
prequel trilogy.
They tried to do a trilogy in just one single movie, and it just did not work. I mean, but those characters also bared a lot of explaining, because they brought a whole new element. They brought a whole new type of being, a whole new type of, element into the MCU. Like, you're actually dealing with, with gods.
It was no longer just superhumans or metas or mutants or whatever we're calling them.
But at this point, they should have known. They should have known that it was too much to bite off.
And we've seen that with the box office results. And, there is also something to be said about, there have been some articles that have come out recently talking about Marvel fatigue. And, for all of the acclaim that like Hawkeye has been getting, it is the least watched of the Marvel shows. Falcon Winter Soldier didn't get great reviews. Everyone loved Loki, but the viewing numbers that have come out were actually significantly lower than what people thought they were, even though critics and fans alike seem to love the show. So, maybe Marvel's trying to mix it up and try something new, because at what point do people burn out?
Yeah. I mean, even I, to a large degree, do feel the burnout, and I watch the stuff because it's there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, my cat loves to jump in front of the TV and sit on the TV stand, and he'll be like right in the middle of the screen. And so I need to pick content at a certain point in the evening when my cat decides that he's going to do that and just stare at me in front of my TV for, and not move.
And you can still enjoy what's on behind you.
And I just need to put something on that is simple, and I don't really need to pay that close attention to it.
Right.
So that while I'm looking around the edges of my cat's giant head, I'm not I don't feel like I'm missing too much. And that's pretty much my Marvel viewing time.
That is Marvel. Okay. Yeah. I do not recommend doing that with Wheel of Time because there's a lot going on there and there's a lot to miss. So
okay, there's a few things. There's a few TV shows that I'm just like, you are not doing this to me tonight. Because
we will do a separate episode on Wheel of Time once that is finished, because oh boy, have we it has been quite pleasurable.
Wheel of Time is one of them. The Witcher will be another
coming out.
Once season 2 drops. And Arcane was another. I'm like,
the cat has to go in another
room. Have to go away.
Yeah. But you know, for Hit Monkey, the cat could be there. In fact, it kind of, you know, even maybe fits with the universe. Because there was a cat in Hit Monkey who was, you know.
I mean, certain points, like he knows what he's doing, because he knows that means he'll get treats and food and all that sort of stuff to get him to lay down.
Yep.
Because I feel bad. I don't want to push him off. I'm just like, okay, we're gonna have to find a way to convince you to get off. But yeah, but I actually lured him away for Hit Monkey. I did. I lured
subtitles for some of it too, you know.
Yeah, like, I lured him away for food for Hit Monkey.
Yeah.
I feel like I do that a lot with anime shows and him, like animated shows and him, because I want to see the artwork. I mean, I mentioned that, I did that with Arcane. And I'm like, the whole point of the animated, you know, medium is to enjoy the art. And so I'm like, I gotta get you out of here.
Right. Yeah. And you know, and the art was, I mean, and again, it was very, like you said, Archer inspired, very anime inspired. You know, it's not like, you know, because Arcane, we talked a lot about just like the glorious 2D 3D animation and everything. But this, you know, this show, it's obviously not as complicated as that, but it's a specific style, and it worked for what it was trying
to say. I have to say, like, it's very fluid.
Yeah.
And it's very fluid, and that definitely worked very well.
All the action as well.
With the action and even with the style of humor with the dialogue and stuff. It worked with, like, the comedic timing paired with the style of animation was really, really good. You know, it was just a good combo.
It really was. It really was. And I'll be interested. Like I said, Marvel hasn't been advertising this. You know, it did come out.
I know. I'm surprised.
Really, Hulu doesn't do a great job about marketing their stuff. I mean, outside of us driving through LA and seeing billboards, which outside of The Handmaid's Tale, I don't know what other billboards they put up.
Yeah, they really do lean on that quite a bit. Like, I used to see quite a few bus advertisements for The Great, which is a fantastic show. I would say The Handmaid's Tale for me kind of went a little bit off the rails. There's only so many times where the main character can have near-death experiences before I'm like, no, you live in like, you live in like a fucking police state. Like, they would have offed you like the first time you stepped a toe out of line. So there was a little bit too much turnover with the, like, you know, oh no, I'm going back. I got captured. I did this. I did that. And it's like, you're not dead yet. I'm sorry, but like, the main character just kind of got like main character armor put around her, and but The Great is fantastic because I mean, there's only one season of it, but you don't have any fucking clue.
Well, I think this is
survive in that.
Yeah, and I think this is the issue that Disney is having, and why we've heard some recent statements coming out saying they're considering putting rated R content on Disney Plus. You know, especially if we're looking forward to Deadpool, because it's like we have a great show like Hit Monkey. If it was on Disney Plus, I mean, I don't know what the viewer numbers are, but I know Disney Plus's viewership is higher than Hulu. It's like, if we had Hit Monkey on Disney Plus, then it might be getting more attention to it and more eyes on it and more views. But the fact is, it's a show on Hulu, and who knows how many people are stumbling across it because it shows up in their, you know, recommended feed like it did for you. So I wonder if Disney was using this as like a test to be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be putting Marvel content on Hulu. Maybe it should stay on Disney Plus.
I think, well, I mean, like, I think we already discussed this with Murdoch.
Yeah.
Which I cannot watch that show. Like, the animation and the style just literally makes me want to vomit. Like it makes me ill, like physically it makes me ill. It's not like, oh, I hate this. It's just, oh, this makes me like, there's something about it that I can't watch it because physically it destroys me. But they also put that on Hulu, and that one is rated R content. And I don't think that it did very well. It's kind of like that old Subway commercial with the weird like mutant hamsters that no, it's not, it's Quiznos. The Quiznos, where actually like that they teach they bring that particular advertisement up in marketing classes as to like a specific marketing campaign that failed and made people want to not eat at Quiznos. I feel like that was Murdoch for me. It made me not want to watch whatever Marvel stuff that they put on Hulu. But like I gave Hitmonkey a try because I'm like, it's different.
Well, like you said, when we were talking about this in the other episode, it's like, well, audiences that want to watch animation and anime and Marvel stuff, it's like, okay, we've got Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. Like if I think I want to watch animation or anime or something like that, it's like, okay, I've got Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Plus. I wouldn't even think about going to Hulu for it. And I think that's the problem, is that your Hulu audience is not your audience for this. I mean, I know Hulu's, I think, tried to make inroads into adult animation, but the fact is Netflix and Amazon have bought up all those properties already, and there's nothing left. So you really probably do not have the right people with Hulu subscriptions for this type of show.
Right. So, I mean, hopefully Disney will get their, get all their ducks in a row. A lot of the times they do stuff that I'm like, I don't fucking get it, but like, they don't pay me to tell them that. Money, let's just, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Why not?
So Hitmonkey, I would definitely give it a watch. If you like Archer, you're going to like it. It's a fun ride, and anyway, it's something that you can put on in the background at the very least if you're cooking or doing your laundry. But I actually
will give us some spinoffs. Like I personally would love to see a Lady Bullseye show. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, like it introduces some cool ideas, and it definitely opens the door to more content like it. I did really enjoy that this was just one of those comic runs that is so random and very like not many people would know about this. Like I've never heard of Hitmonkey before. And so maybe it will open the door to more obscure content that is just like little gems.
Right. I agree. So check it out if you got Hulu. It's worth a watch. It really
definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got. Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
That's all we got. So we just felt like, the show hadn't gotten any attention, and we enjoyed it and thought you should know about it because other shows got a lot of attention that probably shouldn't have. So here's one that, should get more.
Here's one that's worth your time.
Here's one that's worth your time.
Yeah, if our opinion's anything to go by, it's worth your time. Skip the Bebop, go for Hitmonkey.
I agree.
So if you liked our video, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, do the thing. We upload every Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time, and we're just so happy that you're here. We love having you on. We love reading your comments. Comment down below if you've seen Hitmonkey, or if you think that our opinion is just full of garbage. I don't care.
No, we liked it.
Right. So thank you for joining us today, and hope to see you next week. All right. Bye, guys.